Today on show number 715 for the 4th of June, we're going to talk about Happy Tuesday, and it's the Happy International, actually, Day of the late Queen's favorite dog.
Well,
We have a bit of an anniversary to celebrate, a 7th anniversary, Julia, and see if you can guess what that is before we get to it. New York Von Dave, Charlie Dallon, and Herr Hermann, Boris Hermann, have gone way north, and Boris especially, split to the north, and they lead bigly, as Donald Trump would say. Coaching Corner, interesting from John Emmett today, another interesting segment from him. Bravo Zulu to Giles Scott and his Emirates GBR Sail GP team. Full coverage from last weekend up in Halifax. AC37 in Barcelona. We've got a nice video from Harkin Blockheads.
oh, good.
With two of the New York Yacht Club American Magic crew. We're looking forward to that. And then finally back to Sail GP. And the question asked just before we went to air, a video out from Sail GP, has Diego Botín answered Tom Slingsby's question?
Which was?
Where are the young guys? Why can't they challenge us old farts?
Yes.
Here we go. It is the 4th of June, 2024, show number 715. I'm alongside my co-host and coordinating producer, Julia Vedekit, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club royalty over at the St. Francis Yacht Club, right?
Ex-royalty.
Once royalty, always royalty. The Queen Emeritus, clothes on or off, sweaty or showered? Gordon Smith is asking. What kind of a question is that, Gordon? Yeah, the clothes are on. It's going to be the hottest day of the year, right, Julia?
Yes.
How hot here in San Francisco?
Depending on where you are, it'll be hot as ever it is here at 80 degrees.
In the marina.
In the marina. And across town, 30 miles, it'll be 102.
Just inland a few miles.
Inland.
East Bay and North Bay. How's it going to be up where your holiday home is, or Calistoga?
It's going to be 102 in St. Helena.
Oh, wow. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Delighted to have you with us. Fritz Mueller's checking in from Miami. J. Frederick Bland. From Austin, Texas. Gordon Smith, we mentioned. Who else is on here? John Hanfield. 812s were out when we were training. I don't know if he means this week or recently. Dan. Hi, Dan. Long time. Hello and good evening. He's in the UK normally. Fog Machine, 101 at Tinsley Island. That's the island that the St. Francis Yacht Club owns up in the Delta. That's the forecast, according to Fog Machine.
Yes.
Lance Burke.
Yeah.
Longtime friend and esteemed St. Francis member. Block Island Steve. Wow, we haven't seen Block Island Steve on in a long time. It's beautiful and sunny in Newport, Rhode Island. It's still my favorite town in the world, I'm sorry to say. With all due respects to Valencia and Hamburg and San Diego and other places we live, Newport, even Ann Arbor. Love the 12-meter intro heading out to a video shoot with 5 of the 12s in an hour. Enjoy that, Steve. Yeah, getting ready for the M32 North Americans. In Newport this time of year is just off the charts fun. Lots of people from around the country, around the world. And it is nice to see all of you on, including Mary Jude and Peter Selwyn down in Auckland, Steve Groover, who's also normally up in the Northeast, and Larry Kennedy, hello from downtown New York City, one of our race officer friends who's often out with Don Riley, and Peter Taylor out on Long Island in Oyster Bay. And we have some updates. Let's get on with the show here because let me get rid of the TBJ, Julia. There we go.
Okay.
Because this race, Charlie Dallon is now in the lead. We're following this Vendée, New York. And he's in the lead. He's more or less on the rum line, but he split from the fleet and went north. But so too did Boris Hermann.
Yes.
And that's Boris. You were asking when the tech check, Julia, way up there to the left, on top, left of the fleet, and on top of that chart is Boris Hermann.
Yeah, I thought that was a mistake.
It's not. He did that, and Charlie Delon. Look at the lead Charlie Delon has now. They were more or less neck and neck. And if I zoom in on that now, let's go see if I can get that zoomed in. There we go. Over here on the left, and look at the distance, the delta between. Charlie Delon has a 269 nautical mile lead over Boris Hermann, and then Boris is some 70 miles ahead of Jeremy Bayou in Charal. Sebastian Simon, Thomas Rouillon, I mean, names you're all familiar. We follow these names. But look at this. Sam Goodchild is doing well. Clarice Kremer in 7th. Here's a class. Here's an event. Here's a sport that you don't need anything special for women to participate. Because, look, you got Clarice in 7th.
Right.
You got Samantha Davies in 9th. And you got Pip Hare in 10th and Justine Metro in 11th. Bravo Zulu to all of them, everybody in the top dozen or so, but especially to Charlie. Here's Charlie right there.
Yes.
Well out ahead. He's presumably jibing downwind, more or less on the rum line over to Lorient to France. And way north, having apparently gone way out of his way, but he'll be reading the weather charts, is Boris Hermann, Herr Hermann.
Yeah, I'm just anxious to see how that works.
Well, aren't we all? Exactly. Okay, well, the market is up a little bit here in the U.S. today, as we are, any of you market watchers. And what, Julia, are we celebrating today?
Happy Dog Day.
Which dog?
Oh, it's a Corgi.
Exactly. As I said in the show notes, the Queen's favorite dog, the late Queen's favorite dog. Happy International Corgi Day, Julia, and everybody else who celebrates it.
I love Corgis.
Corgis offer their owners a lot. Why don't we get one?
I'd love to.
Okay, I'll walk it if you'll take care of it.
Okay.
We'll put it upstairs in the Commodore's quarters.
Yeah.
And I'll come get it every morning, take it out for a walk.
All right.
Huh?
All right.
I'll take it for a walk and then take it back up to you, and it can pester you all day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take it out for a walk in the evening.
Good.
It'll be our watchdog here at the Beach Street Yacht Club. Corgis offer their owners a lot of value. Even the late Queen is famous for owning them. They have a unique nature that makes them perfect house companions. They're smart, easy to train, and are great house guardians. See that?
Yeah.
What's more, they're incredibly expressive dogs, just like some of our Fozy, making them easier to understand than many other breeds. They're dialed into their owner's feelings and often react accordingly.
Absolutely.
When people say their dog is their best friend, they're usually referring to their loving...
Corgi.
What? Corgi? No.
Corgi.
They're loving Corgi. Oh, yeah. They can make you feel good when you walk through the door, no matter how bad your day was.
Yes.
Okay.
I fell in love with Corgis when a good sailing family introduced me to their Corgi, who understood me speaking English from the day I met him. And I thought, my God.
Smart dogs, obviously.
Yeah.
The market in Mexico is down. Paul Homchick is saying, well, they've elected their first new president, Paul. First new female president. She's a bit of a socialist Marxist, but Julia says maybe anything. She's also obviously bright because she's got a PhD or a a PhD, and she's got a she is a co-Nobel Prize winner.
Yes.
And she's been mayor of Mexico City for some period.
Yes,
of time.
and talk about a job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see if she can dial the crime in the economy and the whole border problem with the U.S.
She seems really bright and popular. God.
Well, hopefully.
I
She won by a landslide, right?
Yeah, I'm cheering for her.
What are other comments here? Dan Jaspers, he'll be in Hamburg over the next couple of days at the Helga Cup, the world's largest all-female keelboat event, racing on the Alsta. There's two Alstas there, Dan. There's the Außenalster, which is the big one, which is where most, well, in fact, all the yacht racing goes on there. And the esteemed Norddeutsche Regatta Verein is on the south side of that lake. Then there's the other Ulster, which is under the bridge and right in the main part of town, the Binnen, or Small Ulster, both in the heart of that beautiful town, city, the Hanseatic Hamburg.
Yep.
Boris Fog Machine is saying Boris is now on the GC route to Les Sables d'Olonne, though he's pointed at Ireland. Clayton Embley is in Annapolis, change of venue for him. Fog Machine also saying they have corgi races on TV now. Really?
Yes.
Not just part of a dog show?
Ted Ryman today.
Ted Ryman, Julia Zat, what would you call your new corgi? Come on, Julia, what would you call your new corgi?
Oh, Happy.
You can call him Crouton, Ellen.
Happy Crouton.
Oh, dear. Clark Chabin Gadai from sunny and warm Plymouth, Michigan. Sorry I'm late, but the lawn was threatening to bring down the house. What does that mean? Does it mean he had to cut it? He had to finally mow his grass? I think he should call him Roger. The Tom can shout, Roger the dog, when calling him in the park. Can't let your dog out here in San Francisco. You got to have it on a leash.
Yeah.
Ed Orley down in SoCal saying, cheers, everyone. Okay, enough about the corgis. Julia, order, probably can't get a rescue dog. Probably can't find a corgi at the pound.
Well, you might find somebody.
Well, you might. Who else are we celebrating today, Julia?
I don't know.
The Fozzie. There it is. Look at your program monitor right there in the upper.
We always celebrate the Fozzie.
Exactly, and especially those who are supporting us via Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And thanks to, we have a new one who's pretty well up there. I'm not going to say who unless he wants me to. 50 pounds a month.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I'm impressed.
We appreciate all of the Fozzie, those of you who are regulars, those of you who've been on the show, and whether once or any number of times, and especially those of you who support us, so we can have a studio like this. And it's come a long way since our very first show, Julia.
Oh, it has.
And do you know, Julia, when our first show was?
On this day, 7 years ago.
4th of June. Well, here's the history of what is today, this week really, our 7th anniversary of this silly sailboat show, the only live show in the sport, live to YouTube and Facebook. It is our 7th. Corky, the corgi.
Oh, that is.
Yeah. And this was our first show was on Friday, June 2nd, 2017. And we were out in Studio A, out in what is the America's Cup Lounge here at Beach Street Yacht Club. And it was slides on the TV, and we had our iPhone up on a tripod and just shot a slideshow on the big screen TV out in the living room, out in the lounge. And that's what this first show was on Friday, June 2nd. It was a pre-race show because nobody, at least in the U.S. and I think around the world, nobody was doing a pre-race show before the America's Cup racing in, remember what country? In?
Bermuda.
Bermuda, exactly, in Bermuda. So that technically was our first kind of official show. A couple days later, on the 2nd of Friday, the 2nd of June. That's not correct. Friday the 4th or 5th, the 5th of June. That should be. The Friday the 5th of June was our. No, that's correct. That goes with that slide. Friday the 2nd of June. Then our next show was live. Good morning, everybody. We're getting set up here to do today's Facebook Live, the pre-race show. With me sitting down in front of the TV on which we still showed the slides.
Yes.
Meg was shooting this
online here this morning
with an iPhone.
From the Sailing Illustrated.
And Julia was sitting in a brown chair watching and laughing at us.
No, I wasn't.
In the Beach Street Yacht Club. Meg,
out in Studio A on Monday the 5th of June.
Get underway here in just a moment.
And we did get underway, and we had a lot of people. It was on my personal Facebook page because you couldn't do anything else in those days. You couldn't do what we do today with cameras and with the broadcast software.
Monitor the television screen. I can't see on the phone now who's signing in.
And controversially, Julie, I don't know if you remember this, we started, you and Meg were saying, well, so-and-so's on. Let's say hi to Greg Newman down in Newport Beach, and so-and-so in Europe, and so. And people said, "Oh, that's a really good idea," and other people said, "That's Croutonic."
Oh, yeah.
A few days. When are you back, Meg?
Not sure yet.
Oh, you're not sure. Okay, well, that's
So she was going to San Diego,
Okay,
which
so
put
let's get underway here.
you,
Welcome
Julia.
to the
You
pre-race
filled in
show
for her,
for Monday.
and you've been sitting there ever since,
I know.
doing the comments and checking to see what was going on. Our first show on Monday, the 5th of June, 2017, in front of the TV set. You look younger now, Julia. Well, I've lost a couple pounds. Maybe that's it.
Semifinals.
Here's it. Listen
Four
to this.
remaining teams, 2 against 2. I've just heard from Commodore Peter Stoneberg, a staff Commodore here of St. Francis Yacht Club, who was here at the. Meg, show them the model of the.
And this is our first camera
Quick, show
pan.
them.
Watch this.
Yeah.
Peter Stoneberg dropped off the model of his.
Live TV.
Well, it's a Formula 40. It's a modified Formula 40.
Yeah.
His boat Shadow, which has been very successful.
Our first prop.
Yeah.
And he dropped
Sailing
that
prop
model
at
off
the
here
Beach Street Yacht Club.
last night on his way to the airport for the flight, the red eye to New York, and then
Peter
on to
Stoneberg,
Bermuda
our
on JetBlue.
longtime friend, past Commodore.
So
here.
we're taking care of his model.
So
He
long
had it
story
at-
short,
at an auction that
that was our really first show. We went through and clicked through the slides, and it's not unlike what we do today, except the slides are now PIP, picture-in-picture, instead of on a screen, which gives us a lot of other options. And Julia,
Let's get on with the show.
I
here.
forgot they called this
Racing
the
will
playoffs.
go on. Peter also
I like
confirming
that.
what I have
The
posted.
preliminaries for the America's Cup was called the playoffs.
But it's breezier, I think, than they were expecting. 16 to 20 knots just a few minutes ago out on the race course. So it's eminently raceable.
So this is what we did. We gave a little it was a pre-show giving an idea on the conditions because no one else was doing it. And we did this in the 30 minutes leading up to when NBC went live in this country.
Yeah.
And yes, that's an unused fireplace, Julie. We have plenty of candles in it for lighting the fireplace. But, here in San Francisco, air quality days, and we just don't do that, right?
Yeah. No, in fact, that's been outlawed completely from time to time. So.
Exactly. Okay, so enough of that. That was Monday, the 5th of June. And, we had slides and we pointed at it and the TV, and I walked in and sat down. You know what I was sitting on? I forgot. I was sitting on a bass guitar amplifier. See that?
Yeah.
Behind the tables.
Yeah.
And we had to set this up every time we did a show. We were only doing one a week on Tuesdays, but it set a table up to hold the computer and then another table to hold the other computer and the camera on the tripod and yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting so that I was the right height vis-a-vis the TV and where my head was on a bass guitar amplifier, not a phone book even, Alan Long. So we go back and give you a little more. That was the 10th of June. That picture was taken. Now, we also had a live studio audience from time to time. People would come in. This was so novel.
Yes.
And people would come in and sit on the couch and make fun of us. There's Stingray's favorite Jim DeWitt painting of the Trimaran from 2010. Looks like you maxed out the power strip, too. Yeah, I think we probably had the power strip maxed out. Clark Chapin. It probably was a fire hazard. And then that's for seating here. That's just across the lounge here at the Beach Street Yacht Club and Studio. Hey, it's a comfortable studio, actually. We should go back out there, Julia, except it's a bit noisy.
Yeah.
All the street noise, because that's the street side of the apartment. Now, Meg was a big help in the early going, and then she moved to San Diego, and Julia took over as the so-called coordinating producer. And, of course, she had to go get a new iPhone, so we went down. Do you remember this?
I
You
do.
have no idea, do you? Is that the same dress? You've never worn the same dress twice since I've known you in 7 years. No, Jonathan Frank, it was a Fender amp, not a Marshall amp. And Julia went down to the Apple store here on Chestnut Street to get herself a new iPhone. I think that's a 7. That may be, Julia, that may be the phone that is right there that's now your studio clock up here. Point to that for us.
Yeah.
That's I think that's your old iPhone 7. I can't remember.
Could well be.
I remember insisting you include Julia as your sidekick after the first few shows. Yep, that's right, Stingray. Well, we had to have, Meg went to San Diego, we had to have somebody to read the comments and help keep me on the straight and narrow because, we started telling dirty jokes if Julia were not around. But the interesting thing, Yacht Club started tuning in. not only here in the U.S., but even the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, where it was dark 30. It was like 05:30 in the morning when we were going live here, I think at 10:30 or whatever time it was. And they were all gathered in that nice big room at the squadron, and they learned about what we were doing and put us on their big screen because they apparently didn't have a pre-show either. So somebody figured out how to take us off the internet, put it up there, and we did a back and forth and welcomed them. And then several other yacht clubs around this country and the world tuned in, and that helped kick us off. And that was on Sunday, the 18th of June, when we first had the RNZ, a live hit.
Yes.
From them. It was great fun.
It was.
Great fun. And then we started doing some funnies, because now it looked like the Kiwis were going to be plenty darn good. And somebody sent me this. I remember who, and I'm not going to use their name because they may not be amused, but Russell, I am your father, Darth Dalton. We dedicate that, Julia, to whom? Julie Aarons.
Julie Aarons, right.
Right?
Right.
Julia, I knew Julia would love that. So that was our first official funny. That was on also Sunday, the 18th of June. But we were ecumenical. We took it both ways. And somebody, I don't remember who sent this one. I wonder if Golden Gate Yacht Club will put my head in the trophy case if I lose the America's Cup, Jimmy Spithill, which of course he went on to lose the cup for Golden Gate Yacht Club. And needless to say, his head is not on the trophy case there. Julie Aarons thinks that I look younger because your makeup crew is better. Well, I think between losing a couple pounds and, yes, having a bit of makeup, and having better, frankly, it's lighting. It's studio lighting, which, we didn't have any lighting out there, ambient light. We had what we used to take one of those living room lights and turn it up like this. And it was crotonic and unfiltered and so on. So, that was on the 25th of June. Making fun of your friend Grant, yes, Julie Aarons, but more fun of everybody. We also got a little, shall we say, Julie, I put this in because at the time we weren't doing finger wags, and you need to do one.
Yes.
Street girls bringing sailors into hotel must pay for room in advance. So we did some funnies.
Yeah.
This one was clean. I can help, but first you must admit you have a problem. So a shrink summer job. So we never have been shy about having some political commentary, and, especially people who are extra woke and things, right?
Yeah.
Yet we still celebrate this new Marxist governor of Mexico, nonetheless. So that was Tuesdays. After this show, this pre-show, we were doing the America's Cup, and we kind of called it off after the America's Cup was done. And then everybody said, "Oh, why don't you do a show every week?"
Right.
So we started a show called Tuesdays with TFE, and that was in July of 2017. One show a week, because by then, Julia, remember, we were live streaming over at St. Francis Yacht Club their Wednesday yachting luncheon. So between putting a Tuesday show together, hauling all this equipment over there, setting up, doing the Wednesday show, and that was a lot. Plus, I was running the website, the Sailing Illustrated website, which it's still there, but it hasn't been touched in 4 years. I got to decide whether to take it down or what to do with it.
It's awful when right now when you call it up, it's
well, I think the last thing is a Peter Harkin feature from literally 3 or 4 years ago. So I was still posting on the website, which took a lot of time. And then with this live stuff all happening, we went down to Newport Beach, and Andy Rose said, "Well, why don't you live stream the Governor's Cup?" And Chris Bretschker and I put together a team and some equipment, and we live streamed the Governor's Cup. We'd been doing experimentally with an iPhone, trying to live stream out on the water with the Gov Cup, and you could see the little white triangles on the horizon. But we got serious and started with the opening dinner on shore, which is a lot easier to do on shore than it is on the water, on Monday, July 17th, 2017. And of course, we've been doing that ever since as well. And between the two, that has helped our learning curve substantially. Now, we had a couple of live guests before this, including Mark Michelson, who came on and talked about there was a Hurricane Irma. and he's been our weather guru ever since. But our first really yachting live guest was Richard Gladwell, who's been on here at least as much as anyone else, if not more. Clark Chapin can check.
Right.
And he was on also in September now of 2017. And then we started getting information from people, and we'd go live at just with breaking news, which was a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd go live with breaking news, and before they announced, we broke a major one here, is that New York Yacht Club was going to challenge for the 36th America's Cup down in Auckland. And that led us to saying, well, why don't we do a show, instead of doing these live hits whenever something interesting came along, why don't we do 2 shows a week, and we'll always be more or less current. But we didn't get around to that until 2018.
Yeah, it was
First,
wild.
we had to have a proper studio. I got so tired of setting that studio up in the living room every time. So Meg had gone, this was her bedroom originally, and she had moved, was working here, then she moved to San Diego. So there is the studio transfer here into Studio B on the Saturday, the 28th of October. What a mess. Well, we commandeered her bedroom and her desk and turned it into our Studio B, which is what it originally looked like. And then in November, we figured out how to start using cameras. You can see a little camera on top of that tripod instead of the iPhone. And we were using the broadcast software, OBS, on the iMac. And then we had the little screen behind me. I was sitting there with that screen over my right shoulder. Then in December of that year, you know what that is? Where that is? That's at our home. That's Leslie and Meg's, our home in San Diego. And we did our first live remote from that brown chair in San Diego when we were covering the Sydney Hobart. And we had Clark Chapin and Dick Anderson on doing their protest committee thing. And I pointed a lamp at myself, and I had a computer and a little, you can see maybe on top of that computer, a little camera. And by then we had a microphone and proper audio. And that was our first live remote from our home in San Diego. And we wrapped up 2017, again, not afraid to make jokes. I'll ask you again, sir, did you or did you not look at my client and in a crowded shopping mall in front of her children call her not once, but 3 times, "Aho!"
Oh.
That's not a finger wag, is it?
No.
Santa's sexual harassment trial takes a dramatic turn for the worse. So, we've been doing, people think these funnies are something we've just appended recently, and that's really not true. We've been doing the funny since our first year. Even Ed Worley liked that when he's saying, "Ho, ho, ho." Then, it wasn't until the 7th of September 2018, by show number 107, we'd done 100 shows, we've been going for more than a year live, that we did our first regular Friday show on September 7th, 2018, and that we call TGIF with TFE. I don't know why. Finally figured it out just to say TFE Live, and then more recently just Sailing Illustrated, because that's what everybody calls the bloody show, is the Sailing Illustrated show. And to wrap it up, we are now in our Studio B, and it's come a long way, baby.
Yes.
In 7 years and 750 shows. And Julia, we're still at it.
Yes.
How many? And we've got these nice pictures. We got a painting there behind you. Just see the corner of it up there behind you that was done by Jonathan Frank.
Right.
And if I adjust your camera a little bit, there it is. You can see here's your microphone hanging down on the door behind you. You can see that nice painting by Jonathan Frank up there in the corner.
Right.
And let's see if I can get your camera back to more or less normal. And then those, of course, are Rick Bannerow paintings there, pictures, photos, I should say.
Yeah.
And then above you and above us, and they're not only and also over here behind me, not only do they add a little color and vibrancy and sailing to our studio, but they are on foam pads that help deaden the sound in here, so that between our mics and the processing, we've got reasonably good audio in here. I hope you will all agree. And that is our studio
Grown up.
Growing Up Studio after 7 years, June of 20, oops, that graphic wasn't correct, 2024. 7 years and 750 shows. And Julia, we are still at it. How many more? Let's do 5 more and call it off. Or maybe 10 more. 725 sounds like a good number, and be done with it. We'll get to 800 anyway.
Yeah.
Clark says he was amazed at the studio when he visited in January. Yeah, it's come a ways. But this is how everybody goes. And I just one last word, and I want to say that we've learned all of this from Julia, the gamers.
Yes.
I do what I still do on Saturdays. I go on what I call YouTube University and watch YouTube videos of people who do this.
Yeah.
And know how to do it. As we zoom your camera back out a little bit. Your microphone's in the shot. We got to get you, there you go, your headspace. That is, that was a huge improvement when we went to these little PTZ, pan, tilt, and zoom cameras. Julia's is there, mine is right up here, and I can adjust it with software with a click of the mouse. Mm-hmm. But we learned by going online, I did watching YouTube videos of the gamers because they were using this free broadcast software, which now basically everybody uses. Interesting too is that broadcasters are starting to move from hardcore switchers, from hardware switchers. And we have a hardware switcher here too that we use for certain applications, but using now software switchers, this OBS and other versions, more professional versions of it.
Right.
And who else did we learn from? Especially during the pandemic? Churches,
yeah.
Houses of worship. And I'd say, oh, Julie, I was watching some church in Colorado up there by Joe Holtzman, and this is how they do it. Mm-hmm. And some of these live streams from these churches now, especially since the pandemic, are astonishing.
They are.
5, 6, 7 cameras and the big bands on the stage, all mic'd up like it's a rock concert.
And it's proved very useful to them.
Well,
especially during the pandemic.
You think how the world has changed online in 7 years.
Yes.
Exactly. I just wish that so many frames were not getting dropped. Oh, stop. He's teasing me now. Stingray. Oh, he says, Tom, you're worried about. We haven't dropped any frames today. So Danielle and I will stop. I guess he means Danielle Forster. Will stop by when we are there for Big Bow. You bet, Steve.
Oh, good.
We'd love to have you, Block Island Steve. We'd love to have you here. And Block Island Steve, by the way, he's done some broadcasting too, Con Cup and otherwise, I think. Stingray, he's making fun of me. I talked to Stingray at some length this morning, by the way.
You often do.
Bill Wingrove is saying, I remember the days it was run on an iPhone.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks to everybody who helped, especially the Fozzie, especially Julia. Thank you, Julia, for all you've done to make this show possible.
You've done a lot for the industry, as it were.
Well, again, it's not rocket science, but it's also not easy. If it were easy, everybody'd be doing it. Yeah. And again, we're the only regular live show in the sport. And a lot of YouTubers now, and good YouTubers, who's probably, well, without naming some, but quite a few, and doing a good job nonetheless. Okay, thanks to all of you. The dancing butterfly torments me. All in a Gordon Smith is referring. And this is something else we've done is test assiduously. Is that a word?
Yeah.
You went to Stanford. I don't think we knew that word at Michigan.
Oh, come on.
Oh. We didn't know assiduously at Michigan. I think I must have learned that from you after moving here and meeting you over at the bar at the St. Francis, you and your late husband. And we test. Mm-hmm. And I tested last night. And when we test, a lot of the Fozzie come on and watch, and they help us with both the quality of the audio and the quality of the video and whether I'm dropping frames, which is why Stingray's making fun of me. We have dropped 0 frames again today so far, knock on wood.
Right.
Dry. Bar Karate is on weekly, but it's recorded, Alan Long. It's not live. Is it? Are they live? They're recorded. Like Shirley Robertson's superb podcast, like any number of Matt Sheehan and so on. And the 2 guys in Italy, but I don't think they're live because they edit it. I mean, you have to be a bit of a crouton to go live because...
Accept your mistakes as you go.
Exactly. And then there's nothing to do afterwards.
which is great.
Jonathan Frank says the best part of the online church is that you can pop a top, which makes it somewhat more enjoyable.
Well,
Wingrove says, from this show, we've focused on having you sailors in our crew and promote this with other boats at DIY, Davis Island Yacht Club down there in Tampa, Florida, a great club where I used to race the Fireball midwinters. We average 3 to 4 regulars every week during our Thursday night series and even have some join our race to Fort Myers and Naples there on the west coast of Florida the last several years. David Pricey is saying thank you, and there is a family.
oh yes.
David, Christian, Olivia, and Harry, who have been on the show, Julia, a number of times.
Yes.
I
Their
think
whole family has been.
The Price family was been on. That's right, and they were on from Sweden of all places. I think from Marstrand, weren't they?
Yeah, but that individually and collectively they've been.
Indeed. I'm going to move your camera just to the left a little bit because if I don't, see now that PIP on you is a bit there. That's better. So that's nice to be able to do that. Is Jody still the only one permitted to say testicles? Gordon Smith. The prices were right, Rick Banner. Okay, enough of this. Enough of this reminiscing.
But what's really wonderful is that the international community we've developed, and we all think we know each other really well. We probably do, but it's wonderful.
Well, and it's nice to see people meeting each other. That when they show up, when Gordon Smith goes over to Weymouth and he checks in and meets John Emmett, and vice versa. And Sweeney is saying, "Thanks for keeping it real, making it fun, and showing us the world from your window." Jody, you can read Jody's comment, then you can give him a shake of the finger.
Yeah, Jody Shields. I don't know. You do need some balls to say testicles.
Julia. Okay, enough of that. Let's carry on here and see if we can make it another half a year or a year. We're technically now, we've been in our 8th year since the beginning of the year, but now we're well and truly in our 8th.
Yeah.
Of number of calendar years. So here we go. The Olympics, we remind you, are only 52 days away, and John Emmett is going to talk about that in his report, which is upcoming, as usual. And I'm running it right here at the top of the show after our little historical session there, because he's got some, as usual, important things to say. In the coaching corner.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. First of all, a bravo Zulu for the Sail Grand Prix for Team GBR. And I think, it's been a long time coming. Really pleased. Obviously, I know a lot of the people on that boat. And that really brings me into this week's topic, which is mental toughness. And that's something that you absolutely need for Olympic sailing or any high performance sailing, but it helps you in day-to-day life. So welcome to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. July is just around the corner, and that sees the start of the Olympic Games, but also a very important event, the Youth Worlds. And today, talking about mental toughness, I think the Youth Worlds is a great example of building sailors for the future. And that means the sailors we see in 2024, we may well see in 2032 or even 2028 at the Olympic Games. And one of the key things is that building mental toughness. That is, there's so many things beyond your control. In sailing, you need to make sure that they don't affect your performance. So if you listen to top sailors, when there's a wind shift, they will say, I missed the wind shift, or I got the wind shift, as opposed to saying the wind shift was good or bad. And one of the exciting things for me working as a coach with young sailors is the ability to mold them for the future and to get them in good habits right from the beginning, because we need a robust sailor who can perform under pressure. A good example of this, when we're looking at World War II, is the planes that returned. You get a lot of bullet fire on the planes, a lot of damage. And it's very tempting on first thoughts that actually where you've had that damage on the plane, that's where you need to repair. But the opposite is true. It's the areas that didn't have damage meant that the plane survived. So actually those are the areas of the aeroplane that need to be reinforced. It's the same with sailors. We need to work very much on our weaknesses, the things that could destroy a regatta, just as the certain areas of the plane, like the engine, which are the most robust. So The youth worlds, we're talking about mental toughness and stuff. It's such a high quality event. Only one sailor per M&A, just like the Olympic Games. So I hope people will be able to follow that. And once again, wishing everybody a really good show. Sail fast, sail safe, and perhaps most importantly, have fun.
Oh, look at that. He's on it.
Yeah.
On our 7th anniversary.
Yeah.
He's on it. And they're saying, John, look at all these comments. People love to make fun of him a little bit. It's polite fun. Hello from White Bear Lake. Jay Rendell is saying, hi, Jay. Nice to see you on. When I finish my boat builder's book, I'd like to visit all the FOSI and their yacht clubs on a book tour. What a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You know, the other, apropos what you just said, Julia, it's also interesting. If you go on a Facebook comment by one of the FOSI,
Yeah.
you know, having nothing to do with any of us or the show or anything else,
Right.
it's amazing, not only interesting, but amazing how many other FOSI are commenting on that Facebook post by
Yeah.
the OG,
Yeah.
that FOSI. Alan Long is saying, you need a painting or a burgee or something, John, so we know it's about sailing. But Julia, apropos all that, you know, he's done 3 on his couch, and one, he did a walkabout on last Friday, right?
Yeah.
What is this, Tuesday and Friday? And I called him this morning. I said, John, are you okay? He said, well, as a matter of fact, my hip is in bad shape.
I knew.
And I
that-
said,
yeah.
can I mention that on the air? And I guess he's told us that, or maybe he has.
I don't know that he has.
I can't remember if I've forgotten it or he mentioned, but he's going in for an MRI, and their National Health Service is a bit croutonnic because trying to get an MRI is hit and miss, and they prioritize you because they don't have quite enough capacity. And it turns out he's also, at one point, they were talking about a wrist replacement. I said, John, you're old. How old are you? He says, I'm only 47. So he is. He's young, but, you know.
Beat himself up.
He's sailed hard, worked hard.
Yes.
Bouncing around and coaching boats is never good for you, and I can attest to that.
Right.
Having bounced around in ribs following America's Cup boats since
Right.
the 80s. So, John, we're thinking of you, and
Yes.
he is going to come on the show on the 14th.
Good.
So in, what is that? In 10 days' time. He will be on, I think, next Friday. Is that the 14th is next Friday? 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Next Friday. And he's going to update us on everything that's going on in his life. And Lily. Lily is there.
Oh, good.
They're campaigning an RS Aero this year, and they're also doing that switch. And he's got a video about the switch.
Yeah. I need to understand more about the switch.
Exactly. Good point. Okay, so we'll get him on. Everybody is, he also says, you know, it's one of the reasons I not only campaign for the ILCA, but I'd like to have the ILCA have a stiffer boom so I get under it. So the boom that bends with a lot of vang, or as we call it, or kicker as they call it. It's not the age, Ed Worley says, it's the mileage.
Yes.
Graham Sweeney, our health service was hacked today, affecting many operations and blood transfusions. Oh my God, that doesn't sound good. John to his psychologist, should I lie on the couch? Psychologist, no, sit up and try to tell the truth. John, look at this, an offer from FOSI Rick Banner, I'll do something for his wall. And Shagger's hip and a sore wrist, Jody Shields. What is going on in John's house, Julie? That deserves a wag of the finger to Jody. I didn't read the comment up higher about whether his testicles are in KPH or in knots. Did you see that?
Yes.
I thought
didn't read it, though.
I thought they were in an uproar. Your balls are in an uproar. David has a wrist replacement. Christiane Price says her husband David has a wrist replacement and has had a very good result. So there's some news for you. John, you can... Joe Holtzman, how about some prayers for John? Well, that's a good point. We'll all say one, silent or otherwise, for John as he goes forward with his... And Holtzman's having an operation, too. I think he's having a hip or a knee or something. Speaking with him, well, we're old. At least you and I are old. The rest of these people are young.
I know. I can say we're the ones that are old. They're doing fine.
John's he's not even 50 yet, for God's sakes. Okay, that's the Coach's Corner. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. superb coach that he is and has been, and author of several books. And he told me this morning, too, that his YouTube channel started when he was making illustrations on video for some of his earlier books. And he just started putting them up on YouTube and could see how popular they are, hundreds of thousands of views later, and that's got him into this whole YouTubing thing. Speaking of which, his latest book with Tim Davison, as you know, is out. We've promoted it here. Ilka Sailing from start to finish. It's selling very well. I commend it to you, and you can get it at wherever quality books are sold. Gordon Smith is saying, John Emmett, you are widely appreciated and deeply loved.
How nice and how true.
As indeed he is. Tell you somebody who is not deeply loved is U.S. Sailing, even though they've settled the Crutonic, ludicrous, should I say, lawsuit. So we have some alliteration, ludicrous lawsuit. I went on their webpage this morning to find out who the Paris 2024 Olympic athletes are. And this is what the page returns. Look at that. Blank. This morning, the U.S. Sailing website, no joke. Why don't you, I mean, they've got the picture. They've done promos on TikToks and God knows where else. So for the record, I went and dug up this picture from someplace of the U.S. that we've qualified here for 9 of the 10 classes. And bravo Zulu to all of them. It's been a real struggle, especially after the lawsuit and the up and down with America One Racing. Because when they sued Paul Kayard and America One Racing and Billy Rue, a lot of the other people who were big funders, I mean, the Schoonmaker Foundation and Malin Burnham, and I don't know who all pulled out, but I know any number of people did. Yeah. And U.S. Sailing has taken it big time in the chin, as they should have. But the Olympic team should not suffer. And I know Jay Rendell up in Minnesota and many others of you are helping to fund this team. And anything you can do, if you're an American especially, help out your local Olympian. The Bravo Zulu to St. Francis Sailing Foundation, to the New York, Claire Harrington, and she's Vice Commodore there, of course, and Afosi. They are supporting our Olympic sailing team, as are many other little...
I think last time the St. Francis was the only sponsor of all the...
Well, New York has. New York has run a goal thing...
for the last...
Oh, yeah. Since forever, the last 10, 15 years. And also Oak Cliff Sailing. Dawn Riley and the gang out at Oak Cliff have been supporting our Olympians. In fact, have dialed that up.
Great.
So there are people around the country who stepped up. But America One Racing was by far the biggest funder of this. But bravo Zulu to everybody who's doing that, because U.S. Sailing has made a complete hash of it. I hope this new guy from England that they've hired, John Emmett, tells me he's a really good guy. We'll get him on the show, but I don't want to distract him now from his current effort to get the team together. There is, if you're an American, your team, our team. Groover is saying, I'm afraid our Olympic sailing team has already suffered. I will not be renewing my membership to U.S. Sailing. And it is a truly embarrassing omission, Gordon Smith, that the team is not even up on the website. I'm sure it will be by the close of business today, or once somebody says, oh, Eamons, you know. Yeah. And Jay Rendell is saying the second from the left is from White Bear Lake. That's Laura Dahlman Weiss, and I really, she's with Stu McKay in the mixed 470, McNay rather. And I'd really still like to get her on the show, Jay, if we can. I've got all these Gov Cup things, Road to the Gov Cup shows now to do, but we'll still squeeze her in. If you can help me tee that up, Jay, I'd love to do that. Jay Rendell up at White Bear Lake in Minnesota. There is probably one complete and healthy sailor amongst the lot of us. Trouble is that sailor would argue as to whether to finish the race or sail straight to the bar. Graham Sweeney, Julia. Needless to say, the non-sailing CEO has got to go. This guy, I don't know why he's still there. He should have been fired forthwith. And everyone on that U.S. Sailing board who are more worried about DEI, more worried about community sailing and everything non-competitive sailing, when their number one goal should be to fix the Olympic team, fix competitive sailing, support competitive sailing, including offshore racing and the whole debacle that's going on in the offshore world with rating rules, at least in this country. This guy's got to go. The sooner the better. Get rid of him. And if you're all still drinking to that, well, you have a drink. Okay.
Claire Harrington's saying the Golden Spinnaker Gala was extremely successful.
Good. And bravo Zulu to New York for doing that. They've been doing that Golden Spinnaker Ball for years. Sailing Foundation of New York has been a great partner in our efforts at New York Yacht Club. And again, there are other clubs besides New York and St. Francis, San Diego Yacht Club, and others have been supporting. And up there in Minnesota, as Jay Rendell says, his club up there, Chicago Yacht Club, I know, has been supporting sailors. Lauderdale Yacht Club has a good foundation down in Fort Lauderdale. Texas Corinthian Yacht Club, TCYC, and others are supporting Olympians, especially their local Olympians.
Yep.
9 out of 10 fleets in the games, and the laser is one not represented. Baton Rouge and Charleston are saying that is just wild. Yep. And by golly, let's do, well, I've never said by golly in my whole life.
By golly.
Where did that come from? Whatever we can do to save the Ilka. If they flick the 470 or the Ilka for the next Olympics, Julia, it's the one remaining really tactical boat. It's the one remaining widely distributed boat that is sailed and raced, not so much the 470, but yeah, even the 470, that is raced outside of Olympic circles. Obviously, and especially the Ilka, the laser is. So, okay, let's get on to something a little more pleasant besides U.S. sailing and the Crutonicism there. And bravo Zulu to Giles Scott, to our cover slide. You know what I'm doing, Julie, that's fun? The night before the show? I'm starting to ping Fozy, who I see online, or who are on Facebook Live, and I know that Ed Worley's usually on down in SoCal, and some of the late night people in Europe are even still up at 1 or 2 in the morning. I'll say, hey, what should our cover slide, what should our promo be tomorrow? And, some people throw their hands in the air, and some will say, well, you ought to do this. And like Bing Bong, Sangmeister's kid, is the one who turned me on to Cole Brower. Brower, right?
Yeah.
I must be getting old. I can't remember her.
Yeah.
And she's now a Facebook friend. She has said she'll come on the show
good.
in due course. But the Fozy are also increasingly not just sending dirty jokes or questionable jokes, but they're helping me prepare the show.
Yes.
So much so that I am thinking, and I'm interested in what the rest of you think. I'm thinking about going live the night before the show.
Oh, to plan it?
Just to, when I'm sitting here anyway, buried in the computer, just go live, turn the camera on, and they can watch as I'm putting some slides together, and I can ask everybody, hey, what do you think we should, what should we run tomorrow as the lead, or do you have any other ideas? And do that at, 4 o'clock our time, which is, they're still awake in Europe. Some people are anyway. So that's +9, 4 o'clock, 1600 is 23. It's 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? 1500 is 24. So 1600 is 100. It's 1 in the morning. But some people are still awake. So maybe we'll do that.
Some people might stay up to be on it.
Well, if they do that, they're croutons. No, I'm teasing. Tom Pace, I attended Tom Pace, the esteemed past Commodore, right, Tom, of the Pensacola Yacht Club down in Florida's Panhandle, and the new home of American Magic, it looks like. I attended Golden Spinnaker. So many great people are behind racing. Bravo Zulu, Tom, Commodore Pace. Alan Long, RS Sailboats, is lobbying their Arrow big time. Well, it's a good boat. Got some, I think they have Arrows over at San Francisco Yacht Club now, don't they, Julia?
I don't know.
Okay, enough of all that. And if you think that's a good idea to go live the evening before the show, just to kibitz and
Just to try it.
we might give that a shot. Let's get on with this Bravo's. Oops, I got to do a setup here. Let's do a Bravo Zulu to the British Sail GP team. They've had a big change since Sir Ben retired. And Giles Scott's come on and taken over, and Hannah Mills is still there, and Hannah Mills is doing, by all accounts, a hell of a good job. But first, let me show you the day one highlights from Sail GP from this past weekend in Halifax.
What a start to race number 1 here at the Rockwell Canada Sail Grand Prix. Halifax, Todd Harris, Stevie Morrison, and how about the start by the French Stevie to set the stage?
Yeah, I mean, France and Germany here really unlocked the code at the start. They came blasting through the gun. But it's not just the start that's got to impress you, it's the whole race that's got to be put together. And it's that kind of race course out there today that was about getting good wind shifts. And Spain early on in the day were on fire with that, really. Diego and his crew nailed the way around the course, sailed fast and smart.
Spain got the win in race number 1. Again, another great start by Condé de la Pierre as he threads the needle.
Yeah, it was a bit more Gran Turismo than a classic Sail GP start. He found his way through. There were plenty of mistakes out there, lots of snakes and ladders on that race course, really. Australia were making many early on in the day, which is pretty unusual. But this race, again, first boat to get their nose clear was Rockwell, Denmark, and they took full advantage of that to sail away and take the win.
Nikolai Sandstedt and the Danes get the win in race number 2, and then it came down to the third and final race in a boat that we have not called a lot in those first 2 races, Stevie. They are the 3-time defending champions. The Australians flex their muscles.
Yeah, weird feeling, really. First time I've ever watched a Sail GP race and almost questioned whether Australia had the minerals, as it were, to keep it all together. But despite dropping back in the middle of the race, they found themselves back in 4th as we were sort of halfway through the race. Slingsby put it all together, took advantage of some other teams' mistakes. Hometown heroes Canada here dived inside Emirates Great Britain, got a penalty. Rightly so, unfortunately, I think, for Phil and his crew. But that opened the door, slowed things up just enough for Slingsby. Turned right when everyone else turned left, and he was right to turn right.
Gate number 5, that was the penalty, and Tom Slingsby splits the course. He would take it on to get the victory in race number 3. But will it be enough to get them into the event final? We'll have to find out on the second day of racing. So let's take a look at the scoreboard after 3 fleet racing. It is Emirates GBR the most consistent. They have the lead. New Zealand is second. Rockwell, Denmark in third, but a lot of work to do for Canada, Spain, and the Aussies.
Okay, so that, Julia, you watched it.
I did.
It was a good time for us here at noon on Saturday. And then the damnedest thing happened. It got windier and overnight, and then they had a problem craning, having the time to crane all the boats in, because it takes, when it's blowing in these boats, remember, they're on I guess they took them out because they didn't have moorings for them for whatever reason. Took them all out. They got to put the wings in. Then they got to crane them into the water with the wings in. And if it's really windy and those things are blowing around, it's dangerous. So they got to be extra careful. And they realized they didn't have time, and apparently one of the cranes, they didn't have the capacity. I think they had 2 cranes, and one of them didn't have the capacity to do it under the circumstances, or so I'm hearing from one of our very well tuned in FOSI.
Yes.
And the damnedest thing happened, as I said, they didn't get 2 of the boats in on time, and they decided not, in the pecking order, they decided the 2 last place boats, which were the Swiss and the Americans, they wouldn't put them in the water at all. And they issued this statement before the racing on Sunday. Due to high winds limiting the ability to safely crane all 10 F-50s into the water ahead of racing, Sail GP has been forced to adopt an adjusted format on day 2 of the Rockwell's Canada Sail Grand Prix. While every effort has been made to have all 10 teams on the starting line, in these challenging circumstances, Sail GP has made the difficult decision to prioritize teams in order of event standings following the first day of racing. I need a cup of coffee or Emirates, Great Britain, New Zealand, Rockwell, Denmark, Canada, Spain, Australia, and France will compete in Fleet Race 4 beginning at 4:28 p.m. local time, so they delayed the start even a little bit, with all efforts being made for Germany to also be on the starting line. Well, they got Germany finally in the water, but they were late to the start of the first race, and then they sailed in the second race, but they were crewtonic. I can't remember what happened. So the event points of Switzerland and the U.S. will be calculated based on the event standings after the first 3 races of the weekend, as below. So they gave 2 event points to Switzerland, and Nathan Outeridge, their driver, was not amused. And they gave 1 event point to the United States, and Mike Buckley, the CEO of that team, was likewise was not amused, as you'll see in subsequent videos. So that was, I was texting with several of you as this was happening, and it just sounds like a lack of resources. They did not have enough of the proper cranes, enough whatever it was, to crane the boats in under the circumstances, which was a windy, rainy, kind of a crappy day. Here's day 2.
Great day of racing here at the Rockwell Canada Sail Grand Prix in Halifax. Race number 4 with just 7 boats out on the water. And Stevie, again, the start was critical and France took off.
Well, it was critical, but this was sort of where the drama started to unfold, really. The 3-time defending champions, Australia, started making mistakes. If they're making mistakes, anyone can make mistakes. And it was Phil Robertson sailed away. Looked like we were going to get a day for the fans on the shore there. The hometown favourites, the hometown heroes, brought it home with a win.
Canada gets the win in race number 4, and that would take us to the all-important race number 5. Emily, points on the line, and Emirates GBR came up with an absolute cracker on the line.
And all teams were seriously pushing. The wind came in with the rain. We're seeing the boats doing over 90 kilometers an hour as they slingshot down round Mark 1. And the close crosses were insane.
And then this moment happened.
That was really insane. The wing inverted. See, the wing is turned the wrong way, which just doubles, triples the power effectively in it and just blows the boat over. But just before that, we saw as well a mistake by Canada. They were in 3rd. They were comfortably in the final. They misjudged the maneuver. Suddenly they were 7th. They're not in the final, and Spain, despite winning, they didn't make the final here, Todd.
And in the final, it was Emirates GBR, France, and Denmark. And Giles Scott, under a limited pressure, says, you know what, I will answer the call.
Well, he didn't. It was tight. He had the inside position into Mark 1. He was aggressive with his match racing there. We saw some pretty fast numbers as they turned away from the wind, and it was tight on the downwind. But again, a little mistake by the French out of that mark opened the door. Another mistake. Oh, it was a blatant foul right there. But that foul opened up the door and just meant suddenly big lead for the Brits.
And Emirates GBR followed their plan perfectly, nailed the start, led at Mark 1, and consolidated.
Emirates GBR gets the win and the 10 points. France would finish in 2nd. Rockwell, Denmark finishing in 3rd. And that means for the overall standings, it is New Zealand with 83 points. Spain now moves into 2nd. Australia in 3rd. And France just on the outside looking in. Rockwell, Denmark rounding out your top 5.
Now, as happy as I am for the Brits, for Giles Scott and Hannah Mills and co., I'm also impressed that the Spanish, Diego Botín and his team, won 2 races. Mm-hmm. I was talking with Jody at some length last night, I guess it was, and he said, did they really win 2? And I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me go back. We went back and looked through the standings. It's impressive what the Spanish have done. And they've kind of risen. I'll show you a video here at the end, but they, remember when Tom Slingsby said a few weeks ago, I guess it was in Abu Dhabi or wherever, and he said, these kids, it's about time for these kids to come to the party and start to knock us old farts off.
Yeah.
Well, the Spanish have done that, or so it would appear. Now, a lot of comments. First of all, Maura Stevens, who is there, our Fozy, who watches the show almost every show. She is up there in Nova Scotia. She was there. She was on the waterfront on Saturday, and then she told me, Julia, she went inside of one of the high-rise buildings on the waterfront. There was a nice poo-poo party there with, food and drink, and it was warm and dry. She really enjoyed the racing on Sunday, too. But she was texting me over the weekend, and she said, yeah, the boats, I guess at most of these venues, they try to leave the boats in. In fact, here in San Francisco, they set up some temporary moorings, buoys. But the boys, as you non-Americans would say, the boats had to come out due to weather conditions, 30-knot gusts forecast on Sunday. So they pulled the boats out Saturday night. Now they got to put them all back in. And Jody is saying, well, I was told, and apparently it was windy and gusty in the morning, and they were even trying to decide whether to race. I was told yesterday they didn't start craning until 10 a.m. Sunday. That's crotonic, and it is. And Wingrove Bill is saying down in Tampa, even us amateurs can get a J24 in the water if the wind is up. Yeah, but Bill, you don't have a wing sail on. You got a mast without sails. And as Jody says, it takes 3.5 hours to crane them all in without any issues. That only left them at best with an hour and a half before racing. And apropos the comment from Bill Wingrove and my comment about not having wings, David James across the bay from us here in Sausalito was saying, does anyone still think these wing sails are a good idea? I belong to a pretty competent yacht club. He's a member both here at St. Francis and also at San Francisco Yacht Club. But this would be impossible. Good point. And Maura, she said she just was wringing her hands when I was talking to her Sunday morning by texting with her. I felt so bad for the teams left on shore. Well, everybody did. I'm sure everybody in Sail GP did as well. Gordon says, I have no problem with how Sail GP dealt with the conditions at the weekend. 2 out of 3 is a good result from the weekend for me. Bravo, GBR, and Den. Yes, fair enough. Alan Long lost his feet. I hope nobody else has. We got 0 frames dropped here. It looks solid. I hope it's solid for everybody else. Stingray, there were 2 cranes. One was not rated for wind limits that high, and the other couldn't keep up. Okay. Oh, it's back. Okay. And a J-24 weighs a heck of a lot more than one of these boats. Yeah, they're flying around up there. You start craning them out of the water, Julia, as you can imagine. These things are little lightweight kites with a wing sail. And don't forget, everybody, the other problem is, and I don't know if they had to make these changes or not, but they got two size wings or 3. They got at least 2 sizes of wings. They got to decide between a light medium wing and a medium heavy wing, I think is their decision. And they've also got different size dagger foils, heavier dagger foils and lighter dagger foils. And they got to decide whether to put those in. So you got to have a big shore team. And remember, it's the league is supplying the shore team, not the crews, which...
Oh, is that true?
Exactly. So the league is trying to do all this. And I don't know if Mark Turner, tugboat, not British Mark Turner, Kiwi Mark Turner is still the shore boss and doing all this or what, but it's a massive effort. And Chris actually is saying, remember what happened in Sydney last year when that kind of whirlwind came through and knocked a bunch of boats over and caused damage. Yeah. So USA missed 2 races and Swiss missed 1. Notwithstanding with the U.S., something I think was not to defend the U.S. because they've obviously got problems, but they were last in by far DFL, that kind of a dead frigging last in all 3 races, and the Swiss not much better on Saturday. I wonder if there's something wrong with the U.S. boat coming. Remember they had problems in Bermuda or in the previous event. So in Bermuda. So we'll see. Would anyone like to have a wing for their Friday night race in order to go a little faster? Yeah, exactly. Okay, but let's dwell on the positive here and the great job that Giles Scott and his team did. And here's an interview with him right after they finished on Sunday.
Yeah, look, an amazing day of racing. Real tricky out there and really difficult conditions. And I think that just makes being able to walk away with the victory at this event that little bit more special. Yeah, just so proud of the whole team and just super chuffed that we're able to raise the spirits of everybody, win another event, and just put something down to build on. A lot of people talk about the jeopardy that's involved in this league. You're very quick to look like you're all over it, but equally it's very easy to look pretty average. We've been looking pretty average over the last 3 events, and to step up to the mark and get an event win under our belt is massive, and I'm sure it'll give the whole team a lot of confidence going forward.
And it will. I mean, Giles now has won a regatta, a competition. It's a regatta. It's a bloody regatta.
Right.
And Graham Sweeney says, I hear Giles Scott swapped his old boat with the American team's boat. Fritz Mueller, J24 Worlds here in Miami a couple weeks ago, a joke.
A couple years ago,
no joke, I think he meant. The city built a brand new hoist in Regatta Park only to discover 2 days before the regatta that the hoist wouldn't reach out far enough out over the water to launch and had to call in a crane company. Well, it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Team USA, Clark is saying, would give anything to just look average. I think that's right. And yes, Bill Wingrove, the TP-52s are coming up in Newport this weekend. They've shipped over and unloaded, and we'll say something about that regatta on Friday. Mm-hmm. Very honest summary from Giles. I agree, Gordon Smith. Good guy. And I said, sort of tongue-in-cheek, got to be careful how you use that gesture these days. Tongue-in-cheek, I said, is Sir Ben looking over his shoulder at Giles Scott vis-a-vis the America's Cup? Because I still think Sir Ben ought to step down from that too and put on younger, friskier guys and gals onto that platform of theirs. We'll see. 30 knots is a nice day to sail, but they cannot. Yeah, that's also a problem, that the boats can't sail in 30 knots. What happened to the days when you could sail in from 5 to 35, right? Race, sail.
Absolutely.
As in your favorite, the 6 meters.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, there's Julia's cough switch is working.
I'm no, sorry.
Okay.
Forgive me.
You okay? There's a cough drop there, isn't it? That's what happens. We're getting old. I think we should quit doing this, Julia, and then we don't have to worry about it.
No,
There's a new OTV. Who is OTV? One of the issues with SailGP is they still are not selling the level of tickets and ultimately eyeballs sell. Yeah, I hope they make it. I think they will make it. It's not exactly, Julia, like Larry Ellison is poor, but we're all cheering for them. Ben needs a reality check. We are all getting older. Yep, true. True. Who is OTV? We don't normally read comments unless we know who you are. Greg Norman. Oh, Greg. Okay. Great YouTuber that he is. And doing that show, Inside Great Lakes Sailing, I think is the name of his YouTube channel and show. Nice to have you on. And Alan is saying, Alan Long, well, to be honest, 30 knots wouldn't do well for spectators. Well, but you know.
Depends on where you are.
If you're sitting on the race deck here at St. Francis Yacht Club, kind of in the lee of the main clubhouse, and the wind's coming out of the west, you can sit up there and watch 30 knots. And you know what? I was talking with Jody last night, I guess it was, and this penultimate regatta coming up in New York, and then, of course, they're coming here to San Francisco.
Yes.
For the ultimate, for the grand finale.
Right.
In the middle of July. And that's a lot later than the regatta has been in past years. And, of course, July and August, the wind machine is normally on here. Like today, the first day where it's really heating up inland and the air is rising in the Central Valley where they grow all the fruits and vegetables. And that literally sucks the cold air in off the Pacific. It's only 55 degrees, 60 degrees maybe out over the Pacific Ocean. And that's why it blows dogs off chains, as the Antipodeans would say, or oysters off rocks, as some Americans might say. So it's going to probably be a lot breezier here in July for that final SailGP event. So it could be a little. It could be a little sporty, as they say.
Yes.
How about the GL52 North American fleet? 6 boats this past weekend and looking like 11 total for the series this summer. Good. Thanks, Casey McGovern. Nice to have Casey on. Eyeballs only to taxidermists. Professional, the TV uptake has not been great in terms of numbers, but, you know, at least they're doing it. And other than the commentary, the TV's damn good. I got to give them full marks for that. I think everybody should. J. Frederick Bland, professional sailing has moved away from boats that most people could afford or competently handle or relate to, James. The one thing golf has is the pro game is played on the same courses open to the public. And of course, they're playing the same 9, 18, 54, whatever holes, 72 holes. The Western Open in Chicago, is that what it's now called, is played on a public course. Yeah, and they play here on a public course in San Francisco sometimes when they do, what's that, Harding
Park.
Harding Park. Yeah, I was talking also with Jody and with Clark Chapin and others about this topic, the same topic, because the truth is, Julia, as you and I reported when we went over and I gave that America's Cup talk over at San Francisco Yacht Club a couple weeks ago now, we had a nice turnout, not standing room only by any means, not like in the past, but people, and we asked them, we said, you know, is this your cup of tea, this foiling stuff? and they don't relate to it. It's not what 90 or 95% of the people, as Boomer Bland, as Jay Frederick is saying, it's what 90% of the sport, 95% of the sport don't do this foiling stuff. So it's fast and it looks cool, but
I forgot my boat.
yeah, don't cry over Ellison's bank book. Yeah, exactly. People are not relating to it. Maura Stevens said it was fun to watch the helicopter pilot maneuver over the race. They had 2 helicopters, didn't they, Maura? They normally cycle 2 helicopters in and out. Okay, so Maura, we're still covering this. I said, Julia, this would be a short show, but we're an hour and 15 minutes into the show, and we're still on Sail GP. This was an interesting moment because Tommy Slingsby and co. were having some problems. And unlike the Americans in Bermuda, it was not operator error. Apparently they had a sticky button or they got some bad software or something because they were on knife's edge all weekend, as you probably saw. And they finally did capsize. And it was a slow capsize and it was so awkward and they weren't in the hunt. They weren't going to make it into the final 3. So much so that I asked Jody last night, do you think that Tom and Russell had a wink and said, well, I'll add a little drama here and I'll do a safe capsize because, Russell it's not outside of Russell's playbook to do something like that. I know
it sells.
He and Jimmy Spithill have done that before, right? And say it again.
It sells.
It sells.
Yeah.
And he assures me, that is Jody, and he knows he's listening to the onboards and so on. He assures me, no, that's not the case. And I think it turns out Jody was right. They had a sticky button or some bad software. And here's Tom's interview after, and he's not a happy camper, after the racing Sunday.
Yeah, we had a tech issue. The wing inverter button said it was pressed, but we didn't touch a button. In race 1, we had the same issue. We were fighting for the lead with Canada, and and we thought, we didn't know what happened. It was sort of in the middle of a race, and we were like, why'd the wing inverter not work in that tack? And then we sort of finished a race. Everything seemed to be working again. Started race 2 out with a nice big lead, and then the wing inverted the wrong way, and we capsized.
So Jay Frederick Bland is saying, be humble in victory and gracious in defeat. Our It's Okay crew has a saying, be obnoxious in victory and surly in defeat. No, they're not that way, but that's what we like to say. Graham Sweeney, promoting foiling is a fool's errand. Kids won't be racing foiling boats at club level anytime soon, if ever. Well, some will. Mm-hmm. And Clark is saying, however, look at the crowd on the onshore and the balconies. Yeah, there was a fairly good crowd, and of course this was a big event, and it's never been held in Halifax before. Halifax is a great sailing town, as Maura Stevens, our Fozy up there, will attest. Now, Steve Groover, I don't think it was a fix to prevent slingers from winning season. I don't think so. I think it was a problem. Yeah, Maura's confirming there were 2 helicopters, and Clark Chapin saying a good argument for sailing with less tech, not more, and I think that is also true. Yeah, and Fog Machine, who was an IT guy, a very smart guy, Lance Burke here in San Francisco, need more complicated software for my job security. And again, folks, mark my word, Julia, there will be a controversy. There will be a controversy over the software and whether a team or more are cheating with their software controls in Barcelona during the America's Cup. At least at Sail GP, it's all provided by the league, controlled by the league, and I don't think you raised your left eyebrow. That was pretty good. You're like Raymond Burr, the actor here, and the late great actor here, who has that great expressive face.
Yes.
That's why you're so popular.
Oh, yes.
And I'm such a stone face, and I never smile.
And that's you've forgotten how to laugh.
You think because I stopped drinking, I don't laugh anymore. Okay, now a little bit longer video. This the esteemed Lisa Darmanin, who's the best commentator by far. She is the shoreside commentator. You're going yes? You're agreeing?
Absolutely, yeah.
And she's got a 5-minute interview here with various people after the fact. You'll see a bit of a replay of the Tom Slingsby stuff. but I think this is well worth playing. The kind of the afterglow video from Lisa Darmanin.
Welcome to the debrief for the Rockwell Canada Sail Grand Prix in Halifax. This weekend, we had it all. We had big wins, we had shifty wins, we had delays craning, Australia capsized, Giles Scott bagged his first win. Huge congratulations to Emirates Great Britain for that win. I spotted their strategist, Hannah Mills. Let's go have a chat. Australia's going to capsize!
Oh my word! Oh, they got the wing all went wrong there. Something went wrong with the wing invert again.
At mark number 1 of the Rockwell Canada Sail Grand Prix Halifax, it is Emirates GBR that gets the whole shot. French Tuxton right behind them, and here comes the day. It will be Emirates GBR that claims the win in Canada.
Hannah, congratulations, a win for the team. You must be absolutely stoked.
Oh, we're buzzing. Yeah, it's just been the most epic weekend here. You know, big wins, massive shifts, snakes and ladders race course. Yeah, just had everything.
And Giles has obviously had a little bit of a tough entry into Sail GP, but to bag a win on a weekend like this, that's pretty cool.
It's really cool. You know, he, like, from watching how he's taken on Sail GP and got in the boat and just got to grips with it, and like, the results weren't quite coming, but in the boat we just knew they were. And so, yeah, to do it this weekend was just, yeah, such a boost for everyone.
It was windy, it was shifty, it was gusty. You couldn't see, the rain was everywhere. Maybe describe how difficult it actually was.
Oh, it was so difficult. Honestly, like, you went from just Mach 10 out of control a little bit, you know, hanging on, to suddenly, you know, not much wind and barely foiling. And then rain squalls coming through and big wind shifts. So, yeah, it just felt hectic, to be honest. I think everyone's come off the water and just said, yeah, hectic day. I literally don't know what happened, but good to come out on top.
Did you have fun?
We had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was amazing. What a race course.
Well, I had fun too. Thanks for chatting, and we'll see you in the Big Apple.
Thank you.
Rockwell, Denmark, they finished 3rd overall. It was a pretty crazy final. It was good for them to sneak in, and I spotted their wing trimmer, TJ. Let's see how hard this weekend was for them. TJ, you guys got in that final. It was all to play for. How are you guys feeling about 3rd?
Yeah, it would have been nice to come away with a couple more points on Spain, but we're happy. It's always nice to make the final. We worked hard. It was a super hard venue, really fun racing, but extremely difficult, especially with that rain today. Made it really hard to see any of the pressure, and that was the kind of day where you needed to look for the pressure.
It was a big weekend for the wing trimmers, a big weekend for everyone on the boat, really. But how difficult was it out there?
Yeah, extremely difficult. I think this is one of the hardest venues we've had with the wind shifts and the amount of breeze we had, and it's quite cold, dense breeze, so it makes it extremely hard out there.
2 events to go. You guys just going to keep pushing to make that grand final in San Fran?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're pushing hard, very, very hard. We've all eyes are on it, and we feel good. We felt ready. We feel ready. We're just going to keep pushing from here, and let's see what happens.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
The French team, they pushed all the way through that final and they've come away with 2nd place. They're just doing a little bit of a pack up, but as soon as they get these foils out, I'll have a chat to their driver. Quentin. Hi. How are you going?
Yeah, good.
How are you feeling? 2nd place, pretty crazy weekend. Are you happy or just wanted that win?
No, super happy. Just have to stay positive when you finish 2nd on the Grand Prix, but yeah, still looking for the first win of the season for us.
And as a driver, it was so hard. You had to pick where you wanted to go. You couldn't see anything, but you pushed at the last moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think we were that close from winning the race on the final on the last win with Gate, but unfortunately we lost control of the boat, and GBR had the opportunity to pass ahead of us. So yeah, it was a difficult race for us.
Spectacular finish though.
Yeah, I think so. For the show, it was a pretty good one, and I think Halifax enjoyed very much the moment.
It was great to watch, and we'll see you in New York. Thanks for chatting.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye.
More huge news this weekend was Australia's capsize. It was pretty dramatic, and we did catch up with Tom just as he got off the water to see if they've ironed out what happened.
Yeah, I think we're as shocked as anyone. We're just going upwind, got out to a nice lead. We're all happy, and then the wing inverted the wrong way, and basically a button was stuck, and the boat thought we were pressing a button, but no one was touching the button. And we've looked into the issue, and yeah, no one's hands anywhere near the inverter button, and still the wing inverted, so frustrating.
It was so awesome to be here in Halifax. The crowd was absolutely amazing. The home team, they did so well, but they just missed out on the final. And I tell you what, the overall standings have certainly shaken up, so let's take a look. New Zealand, they are still out in front. Spain have actually overtaken Australia. They are now in second. Australia are 1 point behind in third. France are on 65 points in fourth. Rockwool Denmark just 1 point behind them in fifth. After that win, Emirates Great Britain are in sixth, Canada in seventh, and then United States, Germany and Switzerland are 8th, 9th and 10th. Thanks so much for watching the debrief for the Rockwool Canada Sail Grand Prix. I will see you next time for the Mubadala New York Sail Grand Prix.
I just think she's terrific. I think that was a good summary, good wrap up, whoever the producer, director, camera, and she is personable and fun and smiley and bright and
Speaks very well.
say it again.
She speaks very well.
And she speaks well. Yeah, I mean, one of the takeaways you've got to say, first of all, the learning curve is so steep, and now you're starting to see, Delapierre is coming on, Bottine is coming on. Some of the younger guys are now coming on and answering that call from Tommy Slingsby. Hey, where the hell are you, young guys? It also speaks to the comments that you all are making here on the show. Is that why is this foiling thing, not why is it? It is so difficult, and why it's not being taken up at the club level, because it is difficult, and it's not something that people relate to.
And expensive.
And expensive, good point. And Gordon Smith is saying, bravo Zoo to Canada, to Nova Scotia, and Morris Stevens and all the rest of it, because I agree, this was a hell of a good event. And it's still, and look at all the video that I've been able to pull together and make some sense of all this in 2 days' time, less than 2 days' time. Had this all pretty well pulled together last night. And it's the only thing in the sport. It's so much better than the fire hose of meaningless stuff coming out of the America's Cup. There's real competition. There's real events. There's real drama. And, the commentary on the live TV is a bit croutonic. And, yeah, they got some problems with getting boats in and out and some other stuff. But at the bottom line, it is pretty cool. And bravo salute to Russell and Larry for what they're managing, I think, to pull off. Stingray saying, yeah, Lisa Darmanin is solid gold. Exactly. And the racing this weekend was pretty epic. Yeah, yesterday the racing was good. Gordon Smith, that is being taken, that is foiling, is being taken up at club level very widely and with a lot of enthusiasm. I beg to differ, Gordon. I think most everybody on here would agree.
How do we know?
Well, we know that anecdotally is all. And maybe at Gordon's club, and because Gordon's got kids who are probably foiling. But, broadly speaking across the world, Gordon, I don't think that is true. Gordon's a very positive, progressive, futuristic.
Even at the WASP level, anything that...
Yeah, the WASP has got some uptake in this new boat, this Switch.
Yeah.
And, of course, the Moth, but the Moth's expensive, and it's these same guys that are doing it. It's not, you don't see Moths and Wasps and Switches sailing around here at St. Francis. You see 505s, J105s, and we'll see. Just back from the pub.
Yay!
John Emmett says, Rick Banner, we all agree with you. We missed Jody's presence. Rick, tell in the comments, tell Emmett what you're going to do. You're going to send him some of your pictures, which again, these pictures that we have on. The beauty of these pictures, they're photographs that Rick actually took. He sends them off to the vendor, who then sticks them on some foam. These things are all foam back. Maybe you can see there's a little thickness, black on the bottom. And then on the back of that foam is a magnet and a second magnet. And the magnet has got some double sticky tape on it, the second magnet. Stick that on the wall, and then the magnetized foam with the photo on it. And you can, adjust them with a little bit of...
Yeah.
And make them all... Yeah, easily make them all... I don't know if I can reach them from here. I probably can.
You can do.
But...
You can do one down here.
You'll get what I'm saying. You can kind of easily switch them side to side a little bit and make them all kind of line up. And you can know, David James says, by looking out the window on Friday night, there are 100% displacement yachts, no wings. Yeah, and no foils. That's not true everywhere in the world, David, but in San Francisco Bay, where it's especially windy and rough a good bit of the time. So, okay, mix tiles, Rick Banner was saying, is what those are called. Mix tiles. And again, they're over there behind Julia, too, along with that nice painting by our Fozy down in Houston, Texas, where they've had some strange weather down there, Julia.
They have.
Had some tough times. And so I hope, Jonathan Frank, you're surviving and everybody else is. Emmett is saying, key thing, if we want sailing to be cheap, meaning inexpensive, we need to support our manufacturers because no new boats means no class in the long run. Totally agree. Totally agree, John. And I think we got to keep relatively inexpensive boats like the Laser and the 470 in the Olympics, or else we're going to wipe Olympic sailing out, I think, from specialty. It'll be too specialized. Okay, now I got one more. I want to show one more brief video because this is Lisa again, and this with Hannah Mills. And you all liked this after the Bermuda Regatta, as did Julia and I. And what I want to hear is the onboard audio, which I don't want to hear during the racing. I was talking with Jody about this last night. He doesn't necessarily agree with me. But it is so distracting and so hard to hear the commentary from the commentators who talk nonstop. Okay, not unlike what I do on this show, but this is a show. And golfing and tennis, which is what I think our sport is. Okay, let's go over to the 18th green, or 18th tee, and they go over, they switch cameras, and the announcer over there says, and now stepping up to the tee is so-and-so, pause. He addresses the ball, or she addresses the ball, pause, so you can hear the whack, whack. Camera goes up. They aren't saying, oh, that's a great shot. Oh, that's off to the left. Oh, look at that. It's terrible. Let's watch it. We all know what we're watching. Why are you laughing at me? You're laughing at me.
I'm laughing with you.
Okay, thank you. Because it's just pause. Take a breath. We can see what's going on. Most sailors, even non-sailors, can sort of see what's going on. You don't have to talk nonstop and talk over each other and fill every second of air with something. And then behind that is all the bloody onboard audio. Now,
I like the onboard audio.
I do too, if they'd stop, if they'd pause and take a breath, and then we let us listen to it, which is this next video I'm going to play for you and show you how good it is. So, and Julie Aaron says, commentators need to learn that less is more. Bravo, Zulu, Julie Aarons. Very well said. And Baton Rouge, the Sail GP commentators step on the starts and finishes. Well, they step on their you-know-whats throughout the whole thing. Okay, enough of that rant. But I just wish, okay, you know, Formula One, soccer, I know different parts of the world, but they need to take a breath. And they need to treat our sport, I think, like tennis and golf. Same thing with tennis. Do those commentators sit there during the whole thing and say, oh, look at that shot. Oh, that's a great shot. Oh, great return. Oh, they shut the you-know-what up and listen. Let us listen to the ball. Let us look at the volleys. Look at the movement. And then the crowd noise erupts and then they talk. Then they shut the you-know-what up again and let the sport speak for itself. I wish the commentators would learn that. Bloody hell. Okay, now this video with onboard audio from the esteemed Hannah Mills.
Working up, wide. Coasting.
Yep.
Okay, your wheel hand?
Yep, my wheel.
Okay, killing 18. Yeah, stay night. Software's still frozen.
You've got 18 seconds to kill.
Killing 15.
Staying on the attack.
Racing windward. Yeah. Full speed. Racing windward. Killing 10.
France going to be late coming in too.
I think you need to build a little. Yeah, copy. Racing. Yeah, I think racing now.
Racing means trim in and go.
Just pause, just keep going. Yeah, copy. Happy? Yeah, happy.
Okay, we've got room behind Spain.
Pressure's better inside, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy to swing low here. Okay, stand by.
Now, how good is that?
I like that.
And they've obviously developed a shorthand. He calls her Han because he didn't have time to say Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got, killing, which has been a word we've been using in the sport. You've got these onboard computers that show you how close you are to the starting line. And kill 15, Kill 12 means you've slowed down enough, and now the seconds are ticking away. Kill 5, and then racing means, okay, here we go. And then he said pause, which is obviously one of their shorthands for, hey, we need maybe just to pause just so we're quite sure we're not over the line early. Pause meaning don't kill time, just slow down just a touch, and then away they go. And then that other expression that Hannah was using I thought was good. She's saying Spain on the attack, which obviously is shorthand they've worked out, meaning, hey, we may have a problem with Spain if they hook us to leeward, and they're coming fast from behind us, I assume is what that means, because that's what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And when commentary, the only word allowed to be yelled is goal. That's the soccer guys. Did I clip? Goal! No, none of my lights turned red. We have limiters on our... Julia can hear me upstairs when when I'm down here and I'm testing the audio system, and I'll start shouting at the top of my lungs, and she can hear me up in her apartment. What? And probably the guy next door can hear us too.
Yes.
Listening like that is nice. Yes, if they would shut the F up and listen to one of the boats in the critical moment there, Julia, at the end.
Yep.
If you want the Sail GP app, you can choose to hear and from it. Yeah, but you know what, Stingray? That's you. You're a tech nerd, and great. I want bespoke. I want commentary that helps me understand what's going on. That's why I want Jody back on the show. Okay, I hope Jody's back on for New York and then here in San Francisco. Rick Banner, the audio from the boats is virtually unintelligible, unlike what you just played. Exactly right. Now, the reason they do that, that audio from the boats is because they don't have crowd noise. And they'll play in a loop of the helicopter noise. When they go to a helicopter shot, a lot of sports do this. Formula One does this. And the audio guy on the board will turn up. He'll come over here and push the button that has the helicopter loop on, and he'll push it up to bring that noise up to give it some ambient sound. But, excuse me. Okay, they got to do something because they don't have crowd noise. Except when the boats cross the starting line, finish line rather, they have crowd noise. You know it? Did you notice that? They turn a loop of crowd noise up, and you hear, whoa, like it's the crowd cheering on shore. Instead of sticking a microphone in the crowd and taking real sound, of course, the technicians are where?
You can do that right now.
I can, but the technicians are in London.
Oh.
All that stuff's going on. So. Okay, enough. At least they're doing it. Bravo Zoodle Larry for spending all this money. It's way better than anything else that's being covered. And hopefully the America's Cup is good. We'll see. Yes. And the Congressional Cup was better this year, not the commentary so much, but the television was really good from Congressional Cup this year, and hopefully our production in a month and a half's time down in Newport Beach at Balboa Yacht Club for the Governor's Cup. 58th, is it, Governor's Cup? Hopefully that'll be good as well. Okay, to wrap this up, we've got, as you saw there from Lisa Darman and Emirates GBR, about whom you saw nothing in the videos. You saw nothing about, Emirates GBR, about the Kiwis, I meant, Peter Burling, who finished 5th. You saw nothing about them this weekend. They're still on the top, comfortably so, of the leaderboard. But Quentin Delapierre in second with France this weekend, and by the way, if it's breezy here in San Francisco, the French are obviously good in breeze. And if it's breezy here, I think you're going to see the French doing well here in San Francisco. So that's the standings from this past weekend, the U.S., sadly. And Nate, you know what? Julie Aarons, I'm going to tell you, Nathan Outteridge, who's currently the B-side driver. You don't say the B-boat driver anymore. He's the B driver for Emirates Team New Zealand. I don't know how well he's sailing. And maybe it's his team, maybe it's some other stuff. But, the Kiwis are counting on him, along with Pete Burling, to do a good job driving their AC-75. So we'll see how that happens, how that goes. You going to say something?
Well, not important.
Well, from you, everything's important, Julia.
Of course.
Huh?
Of course.
Okay, so then here's the overall. Going into New York, the penultimate event in 2.5 weeks' time. Pete Burling on top with his his Kiwi team. And then to Spain. The Spanish now are in second ahead of Tommy Slingsby, and us, who are in third, and then France, then Rockwell, Denmark, Nikolai Sehested, which will make Gordon Smith happy. I don't think Giles Scott's in the hunt for the final 3 positions, but those other 5 teams are. Coming up, finally, New York. Oh, that's loud.
And for the first time in SailGP history,
Their promo video that is out June 22nd and 23rd. 2.5 weeks' time, as I just mentioned. Mubadala, I think it's properly pronounced.
Yeah.
New York Sail Grand Prix, and then followed by the grand finale here in San Francisco, middle of July. 22nd, 23rd in New York City, the penultimate season 4 regatta. Bravo Zulu to these guys. Great stuff. And while we're in a British frame of mind, how about a little follow-up from our This Day in History on Friday? Because that was a very popular segment. I had more comments during and after the show on this segment, which I will give a little bit of a coda to, or an exclamation point, about this whole rescue, this whole evacuation at Dunkirk, which took place over 4 or 5 days. It concluded today on the 4th of June. It started on the 30th or 31st of May, 1940. That astonishing evacuation when the Germans surrounded the French and Belgium, and British troops forced them to Dunkirk. And the British amazingly did that little ship's rescue. I'm not going to read this again. You all know about this. But that evacuation, and they were being strafed by the Luftwaffe. For some reason, the Germans slowed up, apparently because their supply lines were not intact, although there were other theories as well. But the amazing thing was that the Brits, with their little ships coming over from their island nation, rescued some 300,000+ troops, including some French troops, on boats large and small, merchant and leisure vessels, and it became known as the Little Ships of Dunkirk. I'm not going to rerun that video, which was, it was very popular, that 30 or 40-second video about all the little boats that what's the word I want? They redo that. Reenact, I think, was the word I was looking for, every 5 years. But I am going to play the speech that maybe helped draw, or some people argued drew the U.S. into the war, that Winston Churchill gave on this day, June 4th, 1940.
When Napoleon lay at Boulogne for a year with his flat-bottom boats and his grand army, he was told by someone, "There are bitter weeds in England." There are certainly a great many more of them since the British Expeditionary Force returned. Sir, I have myself full confidence that if all do their duty, if nothing is neglected, and if the best arrangements are made, as they are being made, we shall prove ourselves once more able to defend our island home, to ride out the storm of war, and to outlive the menace of tyranny, if necessary for years, if necessary alone. At any rate, that is what we are going to try to do. That is the resolve of His Majesty's government, every man of them. That is the will of Parliament and the nation. The British Empire and the French Republic, linked together in their cause and in their need, will defend to the death their native soil, aiding each other like good comrades to the utmost of their strength. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this island, or a large part of it, was subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world, with all its power and might, steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
The new world steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old, if need be. Of course, what happened was Pearl Harbor, and then the new world, at least the U.S., the sleeping bear. You were what, 1 year old?
Oh, yes, I was very, very much aware of this. But what occurs to me is that you have to talk about D-Day, which is the reverse of what this was,
right?
Which is equally incredible.
Which they're celebrating this week, and as John Sangmeister is saying, yeah, the boys of Pont du Hoc and others, but that whole D-Day thing, which got delayed, I think it was to be today, and then the weather was not correct, and they finally called, was it June 6th? But that's 84, well, not D-Day, but this speech was 84 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to believe. What a speech.
Oh, yes.
To obviously to Parliament.
And if I had his voice, I'd use it too. He was terrific.
Okay. This day in history, 4th of June, 1940, certainly one of the turning points of that war. Apparently, from reading about this online, apparently, the recording was possible, but it was obviously more difficult. And you didn't have a lot of, we'll have it live on tape at 11 o'clock on the 11 o'clock news.
No.
Apparently everybody in the Western world, at least, were listening to that speech. It was a big deal. Yeah, June 6th is D-Day. Julia Ahrens is confirming. Okay, enough of that. As we go to one last video in the, what is the last leg here? I thought you'd really enjoy this. I know a lot of you are going to... Hang on, I'm going to start over. You know where that is?
Yes.
Where?
In Spain.
Yeah, I just showed it's Alicante. Well done. Yeah, Alicante in Spain. And this is the latest from the ocean race. We haven't talked about this in how long, Julia?
A while.
A while. So that's this video, and it's not long, but I thought we should check in with the ocean race.
Now, I know a lot of you are going to be curious about the races that we've got coming up. We've got the Ocean Race Europe in 2025, and then, of course, the full edition of the race in 2027. Now, the next event on the calendar is the Ocean Race Europe, August, and there's a lot of buzz about that event at the moment. We put out a video a little while ago about some of the challenges about getting a route down for that race around Europe as a coastal edition. Well, since then, we've had some announcements. We know that Kiel is going to be the start, and we know that we're going to be going back to Geneva in Italy. Now, of course, Geneva was the place for the grand finale of the last edition of the Ocean Race, and Germany has hosted us before. We've had a finish there in 2005, and in the last edition of the Ocean Race, we had a very memorable flyby. And the sailors in the IMOCA fleet are certainly very excited about what the Ocean Race Europe could mean.
DMG 森セーリングチームスキッパーの白石浩二郎で、DMG 森スキッチームとして次のオーシャンレースに、ぜひチャレンジしたいと考えてます。ぜひザ・オーシャンレースにね、チャレンジできればと思ってます。
Last time was an incredible experience, crazy, but I love that. So my plan for after the Vendée Globe is to do the Ocean Race Europe with my boat. And after, if I can find another boat or take part to a crew for the Ocean Race, yeah, I will do it for sure.
The Ocean Race and all the races that the Ocean Race provide are really exciting for the IMOCA class. I managed to get a ride on BOSM, and for me it was crucial for Vendée Globe entry to have done that leg in the Ocean Race. So yes, I'm really looking forward to crude races in the future, just for the pure pleasure of enjoying these boats going really, really fast, trying to break records. Racing like that with a fleet around you is even more exhilarating, is the word.
We know we want to do the Ocean Race Europe next year. We'll see how that fits into the schedule with the details, but it's definitely something we want to do.
I raced on the Ocean Race Europe previously and a few times on the Ocean Race as well, and I still love those races. So even if it's not with my boat, I hope I will be able to take part to the Ocean Race races.
While the teams are working hard to get to the start line for the Ocean Race, there's going to be some big announcements coming in the next few weeks about some partners for the Ocean Race Europe and the full round-the-world race. Keep your eyes glued to our social media channels.
Okay, so that's a nice little look in. They've got the Ocean Race Europe next year and then the Ocean Race after that. They're going to start it in Kiel and end in Genoa, the Ocean Race Europe, which was, it was fun last time.
Yes.
Okay. I do have an America's Cup little segment here. We can't do a show. I said this could be a short show, Julie. It's 14:50. We're an hour
I knew
and 50
better.
in. Getting a little toasty here in the studio too, isn't it?
Not me.
I'm not either. I wore my Stat Crew shirt, one of my many Stat Crew shirts. Okay, this is by way of an America's Cup 37 Cup date, courtesy of Harkin. The Harkin Blockhead video series, which they run, I think is quite good, and they're featuring a couple of New York Yacht Club American Magic guys in a kind of a cool segment. Have a look.
Hey, blockheads. That's Riley Gibbs, and he made it to the America's Cup. Used to be a blockhead. Now sitting with Andrew. I think that's really cool. My name's Andrew Campbell. I'm a sailor with American Magic. We're here in Barcelona, Spain, sunny Spain. My name's Riley Gibbs, and I'm a trimmer with American Magic. Also located here in Barcelona, Spain. I mean, we do it all on board these boats here. We don't do any of the cycling on board, but we do as much of the sailing work as we possibly can. So it comes to trimming, comes to flying the boat, comes to driving at times. Riley, myself, all of the afterguard on board are kind of capable of doing all the jobs on board. So you have to know the ins and outs of what's happening from every role. And honestly, the boats are developing as quickly as the America's Cup develops. And so you have to be kind of flexible and able to do every job on the boat at any point. I would relate it to more of like a souped up go-kart being in the 40 and maybe, what do you think, like a NASCAR in the 75? I mean, they're quite heavy. And the lighter the platform is, the more twitchy it is, the more reactive it is, the more go-kart-esque. The 40's on rails with the autopilot. It rips around. You can work the thing really hard, and it's really light. The difference between driving a go-kart and a bus is that you can stop a go-kart pretty quickly, and the bus doesn't have any brakes, so you're just ripping as fast as you can, trying to keep the thing on the road. The 40 is set up identically side to side, so you can switch sides and do the same job. But the boxes are mirrored, so you have to fumble through maybe the first 10 minutes of it saying, okay, well, yesterday I was on the other side, so my fingers are on different buttons for the same action. So once you get past that headspace, then you should be pretty safe. A lot of it has to do with the pairing of who's in front of you. If the driver that you're sailing with that day and you're trimming for that person, you have a different relationship with every single person on the team. Everybody has their own nuance of how they sail the boat, and you have to be prepared to deal with that and understand how to get the most out of that player and likewise help your teammate on the other side set up for the next maneuver and the next tack. So there's a lot of interplay between the 4 sailors on board, the 2 on one tack and then the 2 from across the next tack. So it's not a subtle exercise, but it involves a lot of nuance. On board these boats, they're extremely finicky and quite complicated. With all the software that's integrated into controlling all the systems on board, you can easily run into areas where things aren't functioning as to be expected, or in our case, like we need to know the boats quite intimately and need to be able to troubleshoot situations that we might face, like whether we're racing and have redundancies or a safety factor built into it, that we can then identify what isn't functioning all that well or correctly and understand exactly what pressure line's running to that or accumulator and so on. So it's a lot of knowledge that not only comes into the role of trimming sails and trimming foils and so on, and needing to know how to sail, but also being somewhat of like a base level systems engineer. Very elementary understanding of it all, but at least you can help troubleshoot for the actual engineers that'll save you when push comes to shove and you're in trouble. So. The Traveler is the driving factor for stability in this platform. There's no doubt. So once you get the sails sheeted on to a place where they're low drag, you know, your best tool for heel stability is the Traveler, and you go through a lot of movement, a lot of miles are put on that Traveler every day. You try to slow it down as best you could so you're not creating a big action that then the driver has to react against. But you know, the fact is that the only time I hear it is when you're going around the top mark and you bear away and the thing bangs against the bottom of the track. That's when you know you've got to make another adjustment. So that's your tell. That's my telltale of auditory noise. Yeah, growing up, you know, being a part of an America's Cup team and being able to represent my country has always been a dream. And fortunately enough, you know, that my career has led me down this path to making that come true, and you know, to consider where I've come and all the knowledge I've gained over the years in different classes and experience. You know, fortunately Harkin's been a long-time supporter of that. It's fantastic. So I definitely push any youth kid out there to really invest time in understanding their equipment and, you know, what the potential of improving your equipment may actually have.
Okay, a bit of an abrupt ending, but I think, as Stingray said at the top of this, he must have already watched it. It is a very cool video, right? Mm-hmm. And two of our favorites, I think we're looking forward to see how these guys do. They are Americans. They are with the team. And I know John Sangmeister, who I saw on here a minute ago, will say an awful lot of nice stuff about both of them, including especially Riley Gibbs. So, okay, that's the only video I'm going to show today about the America's Cup. There are a couple others on the America's Cup website or on their YouTube channel. Go to America's Cup YouTube, and there's some high-speed sailing around in the Med. And I don't know. It gets boring quickly. Both are terrific, John Sangmeister say. I agree. Mm-hmm. Stingray has the answer to, who was it? Steve Gruber was asking, where is the Kiwi AC-75 on the ship headed for Panama? They passed the Galapagos yesterday, Stingray is saying, probably slowed down to get a nice view. I doubt it. I just want to say again, this book is headed our way, Julia. Two of them, in fact, one for you, one for me, from our good friend and longtime Fozy by now, Magnus.
Oh, yes.
The magnificent Magnus Wheatley's book, There Is No Second. It is apparently terrific, and I have no less an authority than Ed Worley, whose copy is in his hot little hands, and he's reading it. And we know that the Gillinghams in Leamington have also got a copy and are reading it, and they both say it's very detailed. Mm-hmm. It's very geeky if you're into the details of a yacht race that happened 170 odd years ago. But I'm looking forward to it.
Magnus uses language beautifully.
You're just like those British boys and Aussie boys and Kiwi boys.
Oh, yeah. How about the boys?
All the young boys. Yeah. So, yeah, we're looking forward to that book, and we'll have our copies here soon. Magnus the Magnificent. There is no second. And, yeah, we do have a last leg video, I think. And this is back to SailGP, since that's been the main thrust of today's show. And we mentioned it now several times about how Tommy Slingsby made that challenge in wherever it was, Abu Dhabi or one of the Middle Eastern SailGPs. And he said, hey, where are the kids? Mm-hmm. It's about time for them to step up and put some pressure on us old guys. Well, maybe Diego Botín and Quentin Delapierre are now doing so.
Yep.
And here's a video on all of that.
To be frankly honest, I think some of the younger generation haven't stepped up to the plate as much as they could have, and they've got to prove it.
I think, yeah, that helped us also a little bit to put some fire on us and yeah, give us this push to work more.
what a season for Spain. New driver Diego has really stepped up and he's now got the grand final well within his grasp.
To be really honest, I think if we keep working the same way, we can compete and face the top teams in the league.
And give it up for the Spanish. They will claim the victory here in Bermuda.
Amazing moment for this Spanish, stealing the win from the Australians and the New Zealanders.
We did a very good final in Bermuda and we proved ourselves that we can do very good things, but also we need to improve on our consistency.
Here they are, they've put on an absolute masterclass, because if you beat Tom Slingsby and that Australian crew and Peter Burling and his New Zealand crew in the final, you're the real deal.
We're starting to define our ethos, our identity, trying to get everybody to feel a deep sense of belonging to something that is probably a higher purpose than just racing and winning.
And for the first time in Sail GP history, the young team from Spain will bring it home, and they will claim the victory here in Los Angeles.
Diego, he got thrown in the deep end. We had 3 events before the start of this season with him on the wheel already driving, which were crucial for us because it takes some time. He's been leading the team into a very good position. I think the general feeling in the team is that we're in great hands in that sense.
So Slinger, any regrets making those comments?
No regrets. I think, yeah, for at least the Spanish, they really took it the right way, and I think since then the worst result has been a 4th place. So you're welcome. It's exciting to see Diego and his guys really have taken the opportunity they've got here, and yeah, they're a force to be reckoned with.
I thought that was a nice way to end the show. Nice comment from Tommy, and interesting comment from Diego Botín. You've got, this is something beyond just racing and winning. We have a higher purpose here. And, you know, that's kind of Spanish. That's kind of the Latin mentality and French mentality, Italian, you know, joie de vivre and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Nice way to end the show.
Yes, national anthem.
You want a national anthem?
I mean, no, but you know, they're doing it for their country.
Exactly. Which is what Sail GP is supposed to be about. Is the nationalism, which is nice. Why it's nice to see a team of nationals and more. And it also, I think it reflects not well, but it gives some the American and the struggle that the Americans are having. It puts it into perspective. The struggle they're having. It takes some time.
It does.
To develop that whole team, the team ethic.
Yeah, I'm worried that the final boats aren't going to have much time to sail.
Here.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Especially,
I mean, even there. I mean, before they got to.
Well, New York. I mean, to be fair, New York could be a complete cluster. You're sailing around. They're out closer now to, is it Ellis Island or Liberty Island? I can't remember. I've sailed in New York Harbor. The last time, if Claire Harrington is still on here, Claire, Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club, I don't know how long, 15 plus years ago, they decided to run the New York Fall Regatta in New York Harbor.
Oh, yeah.
Over in the west side.
Yeah.
And we kept all the boats at South Street Seaport, and we sailed around, and we went out. And there were logs, and there were ferry boats in the wake back and forth to New Jersey, and there was human excrement. Is that how you pronounce that if you went to Stanford? Excrement?
Perfectly.
We'd say poop in Michigan. Doggy doo-doo, guano. And it was just awful. It was a terrible place to sail. And in fact, we won the regatta. I was on a New York 40. And we won our class, and I think overall, and we swore we'd never sail there again. So this regatta, this can be really, it's going to be, the wind swirls around, and if it's windy, comes across from New Jersey, even then it's swirling around. So we'll see what it's like in New York in 10 days' time. Okay, that gets us finally to the end of this show. We're over 2 hours, Julie Ahrens. We're 1 hour and 3 minutes, 2 hours and 3 minutes into this show. Time for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Corgi Schmorgy, Esprit de Corps. Yeah, I agree. J. Frederick Bland, who went to our Naval Academy, U.S. Naval Academy. Yeah. Esprit de Corps is exactly the right.
He also posted something about Sea Cloud, which I have to go back and look at.
Sea Cloud, meaning the cruise ship?
It was just a reference to.
Well, that's a good time for you to remind all of us to go back.
Yes.
And
to check all the comments.
Read all the comments, right? Okay, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Julia, this one I dedicate to you. To see results, enter your credit card number. All of us have been there. I even got scammed the other day, although I managed to catch it before I put in any of my details. But I thought, oh, you know what? This is starting to feel like a scam.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't put anything in, but you got to be really careful. And when in doubt, Julia, call your IT guy before you enter anything, before you do anything.
Yeah, I got.
He's not far away.
I know. I got an emergency call from Washington D.C. today.
You did?
Yeah.
For more money because
and who knows what it was.
Oh.
And
did you hang up or were you polite?
I because I didn't recognize anything. I decided
you
just
told
to
them to
listen
go
to
screw
him.
themselves.
Well,
with a capital F.
I listened for a minute, and then I said,
you're too polite.
And then I said, I'm afraid you're a scam. No, we're not. Oh, no.
Well, IQ test. To see the results, enter your credit card number. Now, this is for us here on the toastiest day of the year here, at least in Northern California. You will be told this summer to lower your AC usage to stop overwhelming the electric grid, Mr. Spock says, while being told to drive electric cars. That's also for you all in Texas, where you're running out of power and maybe water and a few other things. And they're running out of water in Barcelona and Spain, southeastern Spain as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Greg Phillips sent that through, like several of you sent, but I'll give credit to Greg Phillips in Australia for that one. And then finally, who else but Claire Harrington, who is on this banjo and accordion thing. She loves to tease me about my music because she's very musical herself. She's apparently a superb organ player. I wonder if she likes to play with tulips on the organ. Julia, you can shake your finger at me. I just said, not about the Vice Commodore of the New York Yacht Club. Yes, I know. Do it again. Do it again. Oh, I get a open palm, not even I get a slap in the face, not even a finger wag. Limit 2 per family. It's interesting. I forgot. I just now remembered. Growing up, we had an accordion.
Oh yeah,
It was a little.
House?
It was a Clark.
A concertina, maybe.
Well, no, this was a real accordion.
Yeah.
Clark Chapin may remember this, and it was a mini. It didn't have all those buttons on the back. See, a couple of these have only gotten. See the one that Honer?
No.
It's only got 2, 4, 6, 8 buttons on the back. In fact, several of those. See the ones over on the left that have got the Boku buttons?
Yeah.
On the middle shelf there. That's the normal big standard accordion.
Yeah.
And then they make this mini accordion that's only got the 8 buttons on it. So you got, so a few chords. Limit of 2 banjos per family Stingray. He gets it. Okay, that is from the esteemed Vice Commodore, New York Yacht Club, Claire Harrington. She loves to tease me about the banjo and the accordion. I forgot we had an accordion growing up, which is thankfully, Julia, 2 hours and 7 minutes into the finish line, at which time you like to say,
please like, follow, and share. There are lots of things in here people would like to see. And just punch your own friends.
Well, it helps us out, too. To spread the good word.
Yeah.
We get a few more views. It doesn't make us any more money, really. It just makes it more fun for us and everybody else going forward. By the way, comments are welcome, even in replay. Julia said we do go back and look at comments. A lot of people do. And again, thanks to all of you who support us, whether as Fozy, watching the show regularly, coming on as a guest. And we've got John Emmett, as I mentioned, coming on here live on the 14th to talk about a lot of things. Catch up with him. And thanks to all of you who are patrons via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And as I said, Julie, we just got a new patron for £50 a month.
Wow.
Pounds. So it's a Brit, I can tell you that much.
Yeah. Great.
And we deeply appreciate all of you doing that. Ted Ryman, thank you for your kind comment. Rick Bannero, good way to get the week rolling. My son bought one, and I heard him play a cover of the Van Halen song Jump with the accordion. Good times. Quite the polka today, eh? Yep. Thanks, John Emmett. Thanks, Chris Exley. Thanks, all of you. As we also say thanks to those of us, those of you and others who gave us video, audio, and images for today's show. Final thoughts, Julia?
No, I thought this fun show today was a nice introduction to summer.
And for Stingray, I'm pleased to say, Stingray, that we dropped 0 frames in over 200,000 frames. We stream at 30 frames per second. Over 200,000 frames, we've dropped 0.
There we go.
0 frames, and only 3 frames missed due to rendering lag, 0 skipped frames due to encoding lag. So that may be a record.
Yep.
That's pretty good. And Stingray loves to tease me because I get so frustrated when we drop any frames.
I know.
You and Stingray can compare notes. Why do I get so upset about it? Because it's croutonic.
If it were 30 or 300 out of 200,000, I'd even look at it. But when it's 2.5 out of 300,000, I don't get worried.
Well, you got to not. I'm not a perfectionist. You just.
Oh no.
you got to deliver. You got to deliver for the Fosey.
Yes.
And the Super Fosey and everybody in between. Clark Chapin says I get all squishy when you talk like that. The engineer that he is. Morris Stevens, thank you for keeping me posted over the weekend. I really appreciate it, as I did Jody and a few others of you in Stingray, and of course John Emmett as well. Okay, that gets us through this one. We hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, if you have a chance, go sailing. Sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.